Hello and welcome to Shanghai for the special mid-season invitational edition of Primetime League, where we take a look at Mata, Faker, and listen to the rest of the pros and mic check.
We'll also check in with OMG's Cool and see some of the sights around the city, as well as look at the top 5 biggest plays in the Penta.
Dude, the green screen is so much better than the last time I was on
Right?
PTL, especially this freak motion capture.
Crowd noise.
Looks so good. That's my cue though. Primetime League starts right now.
This will be Royal never giving up and taking an hour-long victory over the favorites from Korea.
And there goes the Nexus! LMS proving themselves today!
Counter Logic Gaming with the most unlikely victory.
Welcome to a special mid-season invitational edition of Primetime League, coming to you from Shanghai, for real this time. I'm Irving Division III, joined by this little Xiaolong Bao, David Freak Turley, and none other than Trevor Quickshot Henry here on the Pop Bar Terrace. Trevor, it's going to be a tough show, so I'm just going to go ahead and give you this right away. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Glad you're still here.
Fair, I think it's deserved.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're not on vacation already.
All right, can we just keep
there'll
this
be-
rolling?
There'll be more. We have a whole show to do this, but before we move on, we have to look back. We're going to take a look at the past few weeks of MSI with a little bit of MSI edition of this or that. You guys also have a chance to say the other thing if you want to. But first question coming to you guys, who was a bigger disappointment for their region? G2 and 8 only beating Turkey, or SKT getting 4th place?
I'm going to ignore the obvious story, which you guys have drilled home a lot. I think Korea. I think watching SKT almost look mortal, almost look weak at many times throughout the tournament was quite surprising. You know, coming in, there was all this hype, all this build-up. There was no doubt SKT were just going to win it, and then they drop a ton of games, lose 4 in a row. It was very surprising and shocking to me.
I'm actually going to take the 2 and 8 storyline, actually.
I'm not surprised.
Well, yeah, but it's not just because I want to like pile on the meme. I actually really dislike the attitude G2 took coming in. Like, look, you are representing Europe. You have millions of fans counting on you to do well, to represent your region, to, hell, seed well for Worlds or whatnot. And to be like, yeah, it's not important to us that our first national event goes well. We'll just sandbag and take 5th and you know, throw away Europe's chances and whatnot. Like, that sucks. And look, yes, you can do well at Worlds without a top seed. Coup Tigers last year were a pool 2 seed, made finals.
Yeah.
Okay, clearly you can do well without a good seed, but like, to me, it's a terrible attitude to come in, and the first time people get to really get behind your team, you're like, yeah, I don't care.
And I think it's just that like youthful exuberance, right?
Yeah.
We'll be good enough that even with a break and a reset, we're still going to keep up with the best in the world. And the answer is a resounding no.
Well, there's been a lot of passion behind the European region, kind of coaxing them to do better. Maybe they'll see that light. Moving on to the next question. This or that, gentlemen. RNG's group stage dominance or CLG finishing 2nd? Biggest surprise performance?
I'm gonna say CLG. I think people came in and thought Royal was a top 2, a top 3 team, and no surprise if the Korean team doesn't do quite as well, SKT's down there, then okay, whoop, next up there's Royal, there's China. And as much as, okay, they kind of sucked at the end of 2015, people kind of knew Chinese League of Legends was really strong, so honestly, I'm not surprised Royal did well. CLG, though, was like the popular 5th place team.
I completely agree. And you look at the players as well. Everyone's like, hey, Doshan's going to choke again. Stixay is like a terrible, he's 80 carries, he's not going to perform well. And these guys rock up and they shut everybody up. Like Stixay is the surprise performer of the entire tournament. And I actually think, just to very briefly talk about RNG, in the trailers and the build-up and like who's going to own the Rift, LPL is its biggest weakness and strength. Because like when China wins, they're dominant. But then China can also lose their own games. You look at the loss to CLG. CLG didn't win that game, right? Like RNG handed it to them.
Royal lost it.
So Royal lost it. Okay. And yes, look, CLG were good enough to catch. But I do think the biggest surprise in the big picture is CLG.
All right, moving on. MVP of the group stage. We're actually sticking with the same 2 teams. North America's Stixay or China's MLXG?
I'm going to jump in there.
Okay.
And I think it's MLXG. I think there's been no other jungle that's even come close. I've still been impressed with some performances from Whoosh. You know, I've still been impressed with some performances from Bang. And like Stixay is a surprise because you're expecting him to be down here and he's up there. But MLXG has just blown absolutely everybody out the water.
Yeah, in the context of best player at the tournament, hands down MLXG, and hell, hands down 4/5 of Royal never give up. Like, yes, individually skill-wise, these guys are up there. That team is amazing, no surprises. As far as valuable player though, team that would not win without this player, I actually think Stixay actually might fit that bill though. I think Royal would still do well with a slightly worse jungle than MLXG. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, but I think even though all of CLG are playing well as a team, Stixxay has to bring that home because Huhi's actually not doing that great in team fights, so they need an AD carry that team fights amazingly, and that is Stixxay.
What a world we live in.
It's great, right? Rookie AD carry putting on very, very good mechanical performances, and he's learned pretty quickly how to like play League of Legends pretty well.
Thank you guys for that, this or that. I could listen to it all day long, but it's now my time for an or that. So two of my favorite things about this midseason invitational, having it not been dapping or Kobe going crazy in the booth, have been eating hot pot with MLXG and listening to the pros in mic check. And while I may have just hallucinated my dinner with RNG's jungler, the team comms are actually pretty damn cool. So go ahead and check it out in this special edition of Mic Check for MSI.
I'm so done though. I'm so frustrated after last game. Don't be
You should
frustrated.
forget about the last game.
I can't. I have good brain.
I'm everyday Kalista because I need to save my support.
I'm happy, man. I'm happy.
I really believe in you. We were kinda unfortunate in the last game, but I believe we can overcome it now, okay?
Nice.
I'm ending. Don't let them base. Oh, they're dead. Never mind. Never mind.
Good game, guys.
Yes, finally we win. Finally, guys.
Respect all, fear none. We don't want to give this team too much respect in any area. We don't want to fear them in any area.
Can we?
I'm ulting them. I got the dead. I zone it. I boxed it. I'm Lucian. I bound him. I'm on Lucian. He's dead. Nice. I'm gonna go now. I gotta go.
Yes.
Good job,
This is the best region, boys.
I'm doing
把手放开，不问一句 Say goodbye。当出最后一次的溺爱，一定要签，我会站在世界之巅。
끝내요. 11을 갔어. 야, 태까지 기다려. 11을 왼쪽. 나이스. 나이스.
哎，中路，那个是波比仔哦。中路打闪了。哎呦，干好多人哦。
我可以帮你补充。
没关系，中路熊湾的，他看到了。
他又撤，这个，快进去，来下，
说的我傻逼了。哎呦，
这个直接狙骂他，直接。
All right, so we've heard what the pros have to say. We've rubbed a little NaCl into QuickShot's wounds, and now it's time to actually invite EpicSkillshot supporter to the analyst desk, to the table. I know I butchered your name. I do it all the time, but I still love you. And Effie is here to help diffuse the glow that Freak and I are bringing to the table this episode of Prime Time League. Thanks for joining us.
You were there for that
QuickShot's he's had a tough time, guys. Before we get into this series, let's take a look at the kind of regions that did advance to the knockout stage, the regions that will be playing against each other. On Friday, it's China's champions, Royal Never Give Up, taking on Korea's SKT T1, while Saturday will feature the surprising Counter Logic Gaming going up against the LMS's Flash Wolves. Now we're going to start with a bit of a deeper dive into this data. Friday's matchup, the LPL Spring Split champions and the defending world champions. These two teams ended the group stage with a world-class battle on Sunday. We all remember it. Now I want you to kind of pull for your minds that and tell me who is going to come out on top in that game coming up.
I think it'll actually be, it's tight. Like, it's super close. In my mind, I want to actually say it's LCK's. Well, no. I'm going to go ahead and say Royal. Because, well, thing is.
No, okay.
No. We're going to go with Royal. When they fought, both games were super close. Game one was a huge early game win for Royal, for China, and then it went down to like a 60-minute team fight that any team could have won. The second game they played, pretty much the same situation as well. Royal winning by a lot, super close as well. So, I don't know, it feels like the Chinese squad's more on point, and maybe if the Koreans shape up, they improve, but I think they're still the Chinese squad's
I think the one thing that we have to keep in mind is that the two games that the RNG ended up losing, we all talk about how great their team fighting is, Mada's engages and this and that, but super late game versus SKT and versus CLG, the other team managed to outfight them and it came down to those details, and if that happens twice, I don't know if that's something that might be a reoccurring theme in that best of 5 as well.
Yeah, I also think Royal Never Give Up have lost more games to themselves than teams have taken off them.
I like that.
You know, when you look at the throw against CLG, when you look at the inability to press the lead against SKT on Friday, the last day, Sunday rather, last day of the group stages, I actually think Royal Never Give Up are going to win because their players are performing better. They've got a massive stadium of support behind them. And I think the mistakes that have cost them games can get fixed in a week. But you look at Blank, you look at Duke, I think they're being outperformed by their opposite numbers, MLXG and Looper in the top lane. And I think that's going to be a big problem when you look at best of 5s.
Shucks.
Well, I really want to look at, those the players will always look at MLXG doing so good. You always look at Faker for SKT, but I want to look at the support matchup. Of course, we had the big Mata story.
Absolutely.
And when I had the interview with EDG Aaron and one of the days, he said, well, if I was to change anything in SKT, it would be their support. And I followed up on that when I saw him yesterday, and he explained it's not because Wolf is a bad player. It's that his priorities lie differently. He's great in lane, but he's not good at the things that are important in the tournament and in the meta. Roaming, jungle support synergy, and map pressure. And that is why I think Mata and RNG might have an edge.
Yeah,
Well,
I kind of agree. I think like Wolf's champ pool is kind of weird. Like I just feel like he's so much less diverse than the other players here. And if he's not crushing Whoosh in lane, then look, Royal kind of gets off the ground running, and also it's a matter of them picking the right compositions. Like when they lost to CLG, it's because they picked a bunch of non-team fighters. Okay, so they failed to close out the game. They kind of screwed around a little bit here, but if they pick proper compositions, and I trust the coaches to have to do so, then I think they're fine coming into late game.
All right, with the Now, let's shift from the serene surroundings of Shitang to the big light-up stage here in Shanghai, where we've gotten to know the world's best pros even better over the last week of MSI action. Earlier this week, we tweeted out a close-up of one of the semi-finalists to see just how well you actually know the pros still playing for the title. If you guessed it, that extreme close-up was none other than the Flash Wolves mid laner Maple. Baby, that's kind of sappy. The flashy Wolf dominated the LMS playoffs and continued to prove why he is one of the world's best in the role during the group stage of MSI. Maple led all mid laners in KDA, kill participation, and kill share. He outdueled Faker and went toe-to-toe with Xiaohu, and if the Flash Wolves claw their way to the midseason invitational title, Maple will be the biggest reason why. So while Maple and his Flash Wolves will be trying to go straight down mid and into the finals, standing in their way with a star surge of confidence is the most surprising team at the Invitational so far, Counterlogic Gaming. CLG swept their 2 group stage head-to-heads against the LMS champs and will be looking to lock down 3 more Ws to earn the North America their first trip to the finals of the international tournament that's stacked with the world's best teams, #1 from all around. Now, ladies and gentlemen, who is going to be taking this game? How is it going to work out? Is CLG kind of just riding a dream here? Are they going to atrophy? How's it working?
I mean, they can be really proud, I think, of what they have accomplished already and how they've grown throughout the tournament. And it was really funny to me because I think I've interviewed them more at this event than I have in the past 5 seasons. And they've been amazing at that.
Dapping out.
But especially like the way they evolved playing their team fights has been amazing.
It really has. You know, you look at all the strengths that CLG had coming into the tournament and some of the perceived weaknesses, and they've not only shown a different style of play that we weren't expecting. The players that we were questioning the most have stepped up. I think Stixay is a guy you have to look at. He was one of the most criticized AD carries coming into the tournament. I personally thought at IM he was incredibly weak. I underrated him quite heavily, looking at how things have played out. But also, this is an interesting matchup because the perceived strengths and weaknesses have been completely different. Everyone's expected Casa and Maple to duo destroy everyone, and Casa has been underperforming. Everybody expected Xsmithy and Huhi to struggle, and while Huhi's not been the best, Xsmithy's helped counter and bring up some of those weaknesses, and they've worked very well together.
Yeah, I think CLG, honestly, are favorite here overall. I think Flash Wolves are, all respect to them, but the weakest team in the semifinal here. Okay, yeah, they chew out SKT, so like there's that piece there, but this is the best possible semifinal for CLG here, honestly.
I think they've wound down. I think they started really strong when all the teams were still evolving, but I wasn't as impressed with them in their last games of Flash Wolves as I have been in the beginning.
And there's glimmers, right? Like Maple was insane at the beginning and he's still very good. NL actually had a very good game at the very end there. I think it was the CLG match. He was like getting in the backline doing a whole lot on the Ezreal, but that's like 1 game out of 10 where I've been actually impressed by NL. And as you mentioned as well, Trevor, like I'm not seeing enough out of Karsa.
Yeah, and
like,
I think...
And he's supposed to be a star here.
And I think if you look at both teams, over all 10 games, CLG have had a higher ceiling, a better understanding of the tournament meta, better performing players across all 10 games. And you know, I also think just one last thing between Afro and Sword Art. I think Afro's had a better tournament than what we've seen out of Sword Art. He seems to be making better calls. He's working with Darshan very well. And Sword Art, there was a lot of hype, a lot of pressure on this guy's shoulders, making some poor calls for the Flash Rolls overall, again, over the entire group stage.
And I mean, you saw Sword Art's Bard. You tried to take that away from Afro, and it was actually like, this is roughly my level of Bard. It's like he's missed every single Q off his ultimate. His teammates couldn't combo off it either. Like, the tempered fate's really bad. If that's a fluke, okay, that's fine. But honestly, not impressed by Sword Art when he's trying to steal away picks.
It's also interesting to me because I think at one of the first days of the group stage in an interview, I think Sword Art really said, well, CLG isn't one of the strongest teams here, and kind of everything changed. And mentally, I think it will be very interesting to look at how they perform CLG as well, because Stixxay has gone from, I mean, being underrated and nobody expects you're going to do anything, to having Blank, Bang, Wujin all saying that he's great. That's kind of turning into almost a meme amongst them. But I do have to say, with Blank, I didn't even directly ask about AD carries, and they did bring him up, and I do think it's meant.
Yeah. There's one final point I want to bring out, though, is who he's getting a ton of flack. And the thing is, he's making high-profile mistakes, right? It's like, okay, we saw this a 0-ult miss, and this is 0-ult miss, and he failed to flash like a Callisto ulti, which is really obvious. But actual performance-wise, it's not bad, right? His damage output is there. Okay, yeah, his KDA is kind of crap, but, like, he's
making the early game a little tougher.
I mean, right, like, okay, there are obviously mistakes, right? I'm not saying he's perfect. He's definitely fairly, you're seeing him get exploited, but CLG's running a one-tank composition. They can't protect the entire backline. Who he's essentially playing a half-tank and yet still getting damage out. His damage output's actually fine.
So it sounds like
there's output there.
Sounds like a lot of counter logic gaming from all of you, especially with the time off. Maybe even more adaptation from them could be stronger in the tournament. You can find out if the faithful will be rewarded once again, or will the series be thrown to the wolves. You can catch that on Friday at 10:30 p.m. Pacific, which is Saturday 7:30 a.m. according to Central European time.
Hey everyone, let's talk about Twitter, because it's everyone's favorite segment, because it involves only me and no one else, right? That's why everyone loves this so much. I'm sure it's why. Now let's talk about last week's Twitter question. I was on the Great Wall of China, and I asked you guys to tell us who would be the top 4 teams in the Midseason Invitational, and I was wrong. But it included the LPL, the LCK, the LMS, and actually the North American LCS and Counter Logic Gaming, so massive props to all of those of you who got that top 4 correct. It's really impressive. Also, the Hall of Fame question was, which would be the first player on the North American and European teams to die? Well, turns out at Breakwan, GG got that one correct, so massive props to you. It was Kikis and Stixxay. I had said Huhi, sadly I was wrong about that one, but still, huge that you did this one. Let's talk about this week's Twitter question. And first, a little bit of history. Since 2012, almost every single region except North America has won something massive. China's won MSI, the LMS actually won the 2012 World Championship, and Korea's won basically everything else. Obviously, they're a really dominant region. North America, big goose egg for them at Riot competitions. However, maybe this year it changes. The question is, who will win the 2016 Midseason Invitational? I didn't predict CLG last time. Maybe I'll predict them this time. I'll say CLG wins. It's a long shot, but I'll go for it. The Hall of Fame question is actually going to be a tricky one. In the finals, which player will first blood which other player in game 1? Which means you have to tell us what the final match is going to be, as well as which player goes which one. So I'm going to say MLXG first bloods Huhi, but I think CLG still wins the overall MSI 2016. Get those in, hashtag PTL at LO Esports before game 1 goes live, which is pretty much the middle of the night in North America and early morning in Europe. So you get those in. Props to you guys. Good luck getting it right.
All right, while you are locking in your Hall of Fame level tweets, I'm going to turn to our Hall of Fame panel and freaks to get their prediction on who will walk off that epic MSI stage with the title and the trophy. Freak, I'm going to start with you since you felt the need to reveal that CLG would win. How do you think it's going to happen, baby?
So I think I jinxed it because I get every Twitter
Already?
question wrong. So now I'm like, I wish I just said Royal so that we could have the faith continue. But yeah, I just have the faith in CLG. Like, they beat every team once. So, like, I think they're favorites to get in the finals in the first place. And I think, yes, they can take down Royal SKT, whichever team that is. Teamwork's going to be there. I think who he can use to shape up his champion pool. Stixxay is continuing to perform really, really highly. The rest of these players, like, we don't give enough credit to Darshan, Smith, and Afro. Those guys are amazing. They're insane players. So it's skill and teamwork, and it's there.
And also already predicting then that SKT will lose to RNG, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I eventually predicted that was going to be Royal. It was really tight, but yeah, I think it's.
I mean, I'm going to agree with you just because of what seemingly is the MSI magic factor, and on top of that, it's in Shanghai and they have all these people behind them. CLG, RNG, Oh, I'm gonna give it to RNG in 5 games.
That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be sad if you were happy about it, but
I get it. Like it's what most people would probably bet.
Okay.
Like I get you.
I've had to deal with a lot of salt and jabs from you guys. I'm also going to go RNG versus CLG in the finals. I think CLG can take down Flash Wolves relatively easily. I think 3-0, 3-1. Flash Wolves have shown more mistakes player-wise. Their lane swaps have been pretty poor, and I think CLG is the better team there. RNG SKT, I also think is going to be a little more one-sided in RNG's favor. I think as a team, they've looked significantly better than SKT. Their players are better. They had a better understanding of the meta, and they had like a better start at prep. And then when it comes to finals, I think for the same reasons RNG are ahead of CLG, I think Huhi against Xiaohu is just going to be a major mismatch. And I think that's really going to hurt them when it comes to that best-of-5 final.
I just think it's awesome that we're discussing this in international tournament. SKT, not the favorite. RNG good. CLG doing well. Woo!
It is going to be quite crazy. So while you process our predictions, it's time to count down the top 5 plays from the mid-season invitational group stage, or as the city of Shanghai can now call it, the Penta.
Shifting into number 5, Flash Wolves NL didn't need a map when he sniped SKT's Faker.
The W is not quite enough there as he's tanking up the turret. There's Juke in there. Make sure that the tower helps out, and Baker not going to be dead. This is a true shot barrage. I take it all back. NL takes the snipe.
Taking aim at number 4, CLG Stixay nets himself a quadra kill against RNG.
Let's find out what damage can be done. Mata's taken a lot, but he's still in the front line with that unbreakable will. He's flashed forward, hasn't found anything. Xiaohu's looking to find one back, but the cow's already down. Dashan forced to flash defensively, and CLG are on the retreat. A very good stun for Counter Logic Gaming. A double kill for Stixay. He manages to 90 caliber net, finds the triple, looking for the quadra. Xiaohu's running for his life. He gets one. Stixay shuts him down. It's a quadra kill for America.
At number 3, SKT's Wolf used his head to send G2's Trick to an early grave.
Wolf not getting caught out though. No ultimate available. Oh, that is absolutely sick.
What?
That's just disgusting.
Oh, you can't see him walk back.
Wow.
RNG's Looper brought the hammer down on CLG's Stixay in our number 2 play.
Teleport's coming down for Looper. Quadra kill for Stixay. Here comes Looper. Stixay's looking for the fight. He's got a lot of damage to deal with. He's got a lot of traps to work with. He's chasing it down. This is for a Penta. Running away with his life. No stun against the wall. Stixay continues to fire away. Looks for the headshots. The 90 caliber net follows through. The longest fight ever. Looper wins it. Call your family. Call your friends. MSI is bonkers already.
And coming in at number 1, CLG's Xsmithy took a leap of faith with his clutch Dragon Steel.
CLG just have to force. They have no...
They get the bind on Mata. Can they do it? They have to spite Baron. A Dragon ain't dying, I should say. Stixay does get Mata. The Dragon goes down. It's secured by Xsmithy. That is the first one for them. Can they do it? Oh, can you believe? Do you have the faith in CLG? Because they just secured 3. Looking for 4. Looking for it. And can they end on this one?
Are you kidding me? Smithy goes in and he lambs with spites to keep the dragon alive so they can't get 5th dragon during the fight. Holy moly!
Damn, smite the pride back in NA.
Finally. I mean, good thing St. Vicious didn't go, otherwise we'd never gotten that one.
Go. We'd still be waiting for years. So if the group stages have taught us anything besides NA is greater than EU, it's that MSI has been packed with Penta-worthy plays. And if you want to see one of those plays put in the Penta, then make sure you send it to us at LOL Esports and use the hashtag, as always, the Penta.
Yeah, it's going to take a long time before we live that one down. Yep. But Riv, we do have a PSA about PTL because we will be taking a mid-season break after the mid-season invitational. So the next episode of PTL will be starting on June the 1st at the regular scheduled time, and the European premiere streaming will begin 1 hour before the summer split, and 2 streams, baby.
2 streams. So before we send ourselves over to the Oriental Sports Center for the semifinals and finals themselves, let's check in one more time with LPL's Cool to demonstrate why he won't be playing Marksman anytime soon in our last hit.
是这样拿枪吗？对，这样子。
这样。对，这样。头歪一点，闭一只眼， 比这只眼像那只眼看打这个的地方，你稍微抬高一点，每一次得打这个地方一直向前看。对，好，10块钱。
还是没有好。我觉得我不适合打 A 边。你觉得你？哇，这样子我都打不中的。我也不想打了。
Looper is actually going to have to back off, but can they flank again? Darshan a little low, Deathmark onto Huhi, and they're starting to help, but Xiaowu is shut down by Stixay. I don't know how this one's going to turn out, and that's insane. Looper is going low, but he chrono breaks back. A double kill for Huhi. A kill for Huhi.
Is going oh my God!
I can't believe it. A triple kill.
We're going to
win. Be the ace. Looper is down. CLT. Do you believe Kobe?
Did it! Are you kidding me? They're going to take down the undefeated team here at MSI!
And
I never doubted them! I never doubted them!